Welcome year 3 to today's literacy. We're at the part of the week now where we're ready to start writing our story. If you remember at the start of the week you were asked to think about the boy in the picture and who he might be, and hopefully you either talked about it if you didn't write it, about some ideas about the fact he was an evacuee. And then yesterday, having learned lots about the Battle of Britain, I was in school yesterday, and I know the children at school enjoyed watching those video clips. I hope you enjoyed watching them at home. You then did a story map for what might happen when the boy wakes up. So I thought I'd share my story plan. I've got mine quickly drawn on the board here for my story. And then I'm going to model some writing and start the story, remind you what you need to be doing, show you some resources, and then you can get on with writing the story start today. So in my story, I've given it a title. You can maybe come up with a title for your story as well. I've called mine The Magic Book, because I think maybe it's the book that makes it happen. I might change my mind by the time I finished it. Sometimes the first title you think of isn't the best. You come up with a title as you're writing often. So I've got my storyboard with my 8 pictures on. So the boy's in bed asleep. Now I'm going to call my boy Frank, if you remember. And Frank's going to wake up. He's going to follow the beanstalk out of the house. He's going to find the planes, in the Spitfires in the field, and he's going to take off with them. Then when he gets into the sky, you can see lots of German planes heading their way in formation. And so they're heading straight for him. So he's going to dive underneath them. That's what my arrow is. He's going to come up round the back on the other side and try and catch them out. Then he's going to shoot one down, and all the excitement that goes with that. Then somebody's going to get behind him on his tail, and he's going to be in trouble. He's going to swerve this way, swerve that way, and his plane's going to get shot so that it can't fly anymore. And then his engine's going to break, and he realises he's got no choice but to parachute out, which is what they would have to do, or crash into the ground. So if you had time, you would parachute. He's going to parachute out, and he's going to fall into the clouds where he can't see the ground. And then while he's falling into the white of the clouds, he's going to end up waking up in his bed. He's going to sit up and think, oh, that's strange, I had a dream. That I followed this thing out of my book. And the book's no longer got anything in it. But next to his bed are some flying bubbles. It's a dream. It's going to be my mysterious ending. And so I've got a good idea of where my story's going to go. And so today, hopefully you've got a story plan. I'm just going to do the start of the story today. Because in actual fact, if you remember on Monday, we need to think a little bit about our character. And so before we can just have the boy as a sleepy bed, if people are going to care about our character having an adventure like this, they're going to need to know a little bit about the character in those first couple of paragraphs. Can't go straight into, and he got in a plane. Think about, well, who is he? Do we care about him? So I'm going to model the bit that comes just before your pictures today, and maybe this picture, the boy's asleep, is just the start of where he wakes up. And that's what you need to write today. You take your time with your story opening. Tomorrow, we're going to do some of our exciting middle. And then Friday, we'll leave ourselves the bit of how the story ends and how he ends up back in bed. So I'm just going to show you some of the resources that you might find useful today before I do some model writing. So you bear with me. This document here is saved to the internet, to the page with all the other documents, and this is help for doing the story. Some of this will be more useful tomorrow. Some of these spellings might be useful today. We've got lots of topic birds. So squadron, that's a group of planes falling, so they will have a name or which squadron you're in. Formation is when lots of planes are flying together in a pattern. A barrel roll is where a plane's flying and then it turns all the way over and back up, the right way up. Quite hard to demonstrate with hands, but machine guns, they would have been fitted to the planes to shoot at the other planes. Spitfires, the sort of planes goes flying. The trail is the white lines it leaves in the sky. Propeller's the thing on the front of the plane that spins round. Do you remember from the Battle of Britain yesterday, a Messerschmitt is the name of the German plane. Dogfight is what people call it, when two planes would be fighting together in the sky. That's how you spell parachute, tricky word. Para and then sh, that is made with a C and a H in the word shoot. It's flying helmet goggles, that's just to remember some details maybe. RAF stood for Royal Air Force. Pilot uniform and maybe a radio. In the story tomorrow, we'll come back to a little bit more about what would you hear, what might you smell, what might you taste. There's other bits that are on here that might be useful today. And not forgetting to use these words here. If we're going to extend an idea, you remember what these types of words are called? I hope some of you just said the word conjunctions. Because, but, so, which, while, before, after, as well as, and there's other conjunctions as well, help some of your sentences be longer. And when we get to the action tomorrow, we're using these openers will be useful. And also some of these position words, so you can think about where the plane would come from. So that document is going to be there again tomorrow, but for today we might want to use some of these conjunctions. So I wonder how many I end up using in my story opening today. So I think, bear with me, I'm going to stop sharing that one. If you've got them handy, if you made any, I would get your notes that you made about your boy on Monday, because they might help you think about your bit of the story opening. I'm now going to model my story opening. Some of it's already on the page. I'm going to talk you through my thought processes, and then I'm going to type a little bit so you can see how I composed my writing. So, I'll call mine the magic book. I've already got a little bit typed. So, I need to tell people who the boy is. And I've got him called Bob in here, because this was what I called him last year. I'm going to Frank this time, so I need to change it to say Frank. Frank was only 8 years old. It's important to say how old he is. And I want to tell everybody he's an evacuee. So Frank was 8 years old when he had to be evacuated to the countryside. And I didn't just say the countryside, to a piece of the countryside. Why did he have to go? So that he could escape from the bombing of London. Rather than just saying so he could escape from the bombing of London, I've added in some adjectives because that's really good. If we can get two adjectives in and a comma in between, remember we've done that on some of the other work since Christmas, so that he could escape from the dangerous, terrifying bombing of London. And then I thought about how he might be feeling. I hope you put some feelings down. Every day he missed his family desperately. Okay. And I know he misses his family desperately, but why did he have to go? Well, what might he be thinking? Although he missed them, he probably knows that he's in the best place. I've extended that sentence with a conjunction. I've used the word but. He did miss his family desperately, but he knew he was in the safest place because he knew quite how bad it was being in London. And what was it called? We were bombing. I've used some topic-specific vocabulary. I've used the word blitz. But every day he missed his family desperately, but he knew he was in the safest place, far away from the blitz. Where's he stopping? Did you write that down in your notes? And in my version, I've got him staying a bit like the boy in Spywatch. I've got him staying on a farm. He doesn't mind it there. He's quite interested in being on a farm. He's never been on a farm before. The boy that's lived in the city. So, in actual fact, he wasn't too. I don't think he's going to mind it. So I'm going to express his opinion. So it wasn't so bad in the farm, but rather than just saying it wasn't too bad living on a farm, there might be some bits about living on a farm he doesn't like though. Although he had to work hard helping milk the cows. I quite like that. Okay, two parts of the sentence. It wasn't so bad in the farm, but so I've used the word although a bit like a but he had to work hard. Help milk the cows. I could probably add a couple of words about the cows. If he's come from the city and he's never really got that close to animals before, I bet he doesn't like the cows too much. So work hard helping milk the. I bet he might be scared of them. But I bet you think this time as well. Stinky. Scary. But scary. Stinky, scary cows. Do you just milk cows? You know, I happen to know that if you've got a cow, you've got to milk them twice a day. So I'm going to add milk the stinky, scary cows. More detail you put, more interesting if you read that. Twice a day! Exclamation mark. Because he really doesn't like it, because he really doesn't want to feel strongly. So we can use an exclamation mark there. Okay. Now, so he's 8. He's moved from London. He misses his family. He lives on a farmhouse. Is there anything else about what he does there? What it's like there? He's probably with a new family, I should think. So I might say what he does. He's worked hard all day. I wonder what they do in the evening. Let's have a look. I might have to scroll down. There with me. I'll get a bit too big. Going to read my picture out of the way. Did it together. In the evening, before he went to bed, and he'd probably be quite tired, so rather than just put tired, in the evening before he went to bed exhausted, and this is something families would often do, they didn't have televisions like we've all got to sit there in the evening. They would have a radio, which they would listen to the news on the radio to find out how the war was going, and so they called their radios at the time a wireless. So in the evening, I'm going to get a good conjunction in, before he went to bed, his whole new family would listen to the wireless. Why were they listening? To find out the news. I could have written that, but I've changed it to find out how they were doing in this dreadful war. That lets you know that he doesn't like the war much. I shouldn't imagine anybody does, really. Okay, let's have a look. Frank, what's he hoping, do you think? Well, I think he's probably hoping that his mum's still back for okay in the city. So Frank, rather than just hoping though, praying that he really wants to be okay. Frank prayed that his mum was safe. London must have a couple of down the place. London. I wonder where his dad is. Maybe his dad's are fighting. He's in a ship. Oh, what do you know what they call the people who are in the ships? It's known as the Navy. It's the Navy. You've made it up, but you can make it up. Right, so that's his background. He's living a nice story on a farm. He's come from London. He's 8 years old. He misses his family, but he knows he's safe. He has to help milk cows. They listen to the wireless in the evening, and he's thinking about his parents. So now I'm just about onto this first picture here, because I need to be thinking about what Frankie's doing. So I think it's time for bed. Now, I could just put it's time for bed. If I go back to those openers, I mean, an interesting time opener might be useful. So after he's had a hard day, because we know he's had a long day, then it's time for bed. So I'm going to start my sentence after. Also started a new paragraph, because the first paragraph is all about Frank. This paragraph is about Frankie's now going to bed and what he's doing. So it's a different topic. So I've left the line out. After another day, it was time for after a long day, it was, because it's been long, I'm going to sneak a word in there. This is what you can do if you do it on a computer. It was, or you squeeze it in a blue pen in your writing. Eventually time for Frank to go to bed. If you remember, what's going to trigger his dream? What is he looking at? Okay, he's going to read his comic. Now I could dive straight into it. He wanted to read his comic. But how do you think he is if he's had an exhausted day? Do you think he jumped straight onto his bed? Do you think he's a bit exhausted? I think he might have to climb on his bed after a day of having to work on a farm. You probably need to. I'm going to put that he's tired. I'm going to take it to an advert. Tired, an adverb, you like that. Tiredly. Ooh, let me have a look at there. The climb. Not have a think. Is that the best word? Not the clambered. Tiredly, he clambered onto his mat. Thus, ready to read the comic. Ooh, what's it about? Ready to read the comic, I might need to say, about the battle and the name of the battle is called the Battle of Britain. So, and if you get a chapter. Does he go to sleep in his clothes? I haven't said he's got ready for bed yet. Did you write what? Did you describe what he looked like on your page? That he had his pajamas on, and he had a vest. I think I need to put what? Ooh, not there again. Tiredly, he clambered onto his mattress, ready to read his comments about the Battle of Britain. After, I'm going to use the word once. It means the same thing. Once. No, I could just put say he put on his pajamas, but I could describe his pajamas. I'm going to put his ragged. He hasn't got old. I'd like to spell pajamas. P-Y. Actually, a word that comes from India, which is why it doesn't seem to follow our phonics. Pajamas. His pajama. Tiredly, he climbed onto his mattress, ready to read his comic about the Battle of Britain. Once he had put his ragged, old vest, pajama bottoms on, I think it needs it on, doesn't it? Doesn't sound grammatically correct for that word. Make it smaller. Right. There's a lamp next to the bed, wasn't there? In the lamplight, what does he do? In the lamplight, he's snuggling with the covers. He needs to get warm. He snuggles actually in the picture it wasn't like a duvet like yours, was it? It was sheets under the crisp snuggled under someone's a hero. The heroic. It's the person they're playing. Do you remember what they're called? Pilots. You've seen the trails. What are they doing? Right, he's thinking about the pilots. I think he'd quite like to be up there. Probably thinks they're being brave. So let's have a look. So he had seen the white trails crisscrossing the sky while out in the field. He was glad that they were up. short sentence to effect. Okay, I'm going to read that back to check I'm happy with it. In the lamplight, he snuggled under the crisp white sheets before he began to read about the heroic pilots. He had seen the white trails crisscrossing the sky while out in the fields. He was glad that they were up there protecting him, and he wished he could fly too. It looked very exciting. Okay. Now he's going to get tired and fall asleep, so I'm going to put while he was reading, and then he falls asleep. So while the whole when you're getting really tired, you feel like your eyes are getting heavy, don't you? While he was reading, his eyes feel heavy. So what happened? So he went off the street. So there's a conjunction to the geometric ideas together. While he was reading, his eyes began to feel heavy. So sleep. Snoring, with his chest rising and falling. While he snoozed, I don't know. Let's have a dive side. So while he's reading, his eyes began to feel heavy. So he drifted off to sleep with his chest rising. Get an advert in there. All these things have extra points. With his chest rising and falling gently. Another conjunction as also as he snoozed with He looked very exciting. While he was reading, his eyes began to feel heavy, so he drifted off to sleep, with his chest rising and falling gently as he snoozed with the book open beside him. That is my everything. Just about ready for the excitement of picture number 2. And so he's going to wake up, although I think he's probably still asleep, but in the story he thinks he's woken up, and we think he's probably dreaming. So if you wake up, sometimes you're sleepily or sleepy. You rub your eyes, don't you, when you first wake up, especially in the dream mode. So I'm going to just do a couple of sentences of the next bit so you can see where the story is going. Sleepily. Rubbing eyes as he woke. Gazed down at his plan. What did he see? I think he's going to be quite surprised because he can see a plan. Would you believe it? Well, there's a word for that. If you don't believe something, you can say disbelief. Sleepily rubbing his tired eyes as he woke, he gazed down at his comic in disbelief. That means I don't believe it. In disbelief. Definitely going to need the explanation more. You can't quite believe it. Growing from the middle? No, I think I'm going to go with sprouting. Sprouting. today I'm going to leave the ellipsis there because that's where you're going to continue your story. And you're going to follow it. Where does it take him? What does he see? How does he feel when he gets in the plane? That bit's going to come tomorrow. We've got this setting the scene of who is the boy, how does he feel, what's he been doing that day, and a bit of description of him snoozing in bed and then waking up. But you're not to take the story any further than that today. If you're in school, most of the children, I know in my class, would probably be writing a good third to a half of a page each day when they're on story writing. I know it's a little bit different when we're at home. Some of you have been writing just as much at home, if not more. Few of you have been maybe just doing 1 or 2 sentences. And if we're going to end up with a whole story, see if you can try and aim for that third of a page, half of a page. If you do that each day, you'll end up with a 1.5 page story, which will probably be ample to be able to tell the details because it's quite a simple story. So that's what you're aiming for. Give yourself a bit of a target rather than just today, oh, what's the minimum amount you can get away with? I think this is quite an exciting story. I'm looking forward to writing it recently, so hopefully you're feeling the same too. So let's give this story a really good go because I've been impressed with the other stuff that's been coming in, so have your teachers. So let me stop sharing that. And just about remind you that then today, story opening, you can borrow some of my words and phrases and ideas, but you should have some of your own on your plan, and your own words and phrases are great. You might have 2 paragraphs, one about where the boy's come from, has he come with his family, where is he staying, what has he done while he's there, and then 1 paragraph about him going to bed. So 2 paragraphs today, and you're probably ready for your middle part of your story tomorrow. I look forward to seeing some of your writing sent in as the task for tomorrow. So good writing, and I'll see you tomorrow.